Jake Martinez rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the star charts on his ship's screen. He had been flying cargo runs for 3 years now, and the routes were getting boring. The same stations, the same people, the same boxes to move from one place to another. His small cargo ship, the Lucky Strike, was not much to look at, but it was his home among the stars. The radio crackled with static as he adjusted the controls. He was heading to Kepler Station with medical supplies and food packages. It would take him another 6 hours to get there, and then he could rest for a day before taking another load somewhere else. Jake liked the quiet of space, but sometimes he wished something interesting would happen. That wish came true when his ship's computer started beeping loudly. Jake sat up straight and checked the screen. There was an emergency signal coming from somewhere nearby. The signal was weak and kept cutting in and out, but it was definitely a distress call. Jake looked at his navigation computer. If he went to help whoever was in trouble, he would be late delivering his cargo. The company would not be happy about that. He might even lose his job, but someone out there needed help, and Jake could not just ignore that. He changed course toward the emergency signal. His ship moved through the dark space, past small asteroids and floating rocks. The signal got stronger as he got closer. Soon he could see something on his screen that made him worry. It was a small ship, but it was badly damaged. Parts of it were missing, and it was spinning slowly in space. Jake tried to call the damaged ship on his radio, but no one answered. He put on his spacesuit and prepared to go outside. The other ship was small enough that he could attach it to his cargo bay and bring it inside. But first, he needed to see if anyone was still alive. He opened his ship's airlock and floated over to the damaged vessel. The hull was cracked in several places, and he could see that the life support systems were failing. Through a small window, he saw movement inside. Someone was still alive in there. Jake worked quickly to connect an emergency air hose from his ship to theirs. Then he cut through their damaged airlock door with his laser cutter. The inside of their ship was dark and cold. Emergency lights flashed red, and he could hear air leaking out through the cracks in the walls. What he found inside surprised him completely. There were 4 young females, but they were not human. They were different types of aliens, and they were all hurt and scared. One had blue skin and strange crystal-like hair. Another looked like a cat person with golden fur and big amber eyes. The third was tall and thin with skin that seemed to glow softly. The last one was small with silver skin and looked very young. All 4 of them were weak and barely conscious. Jake did not know what kind of aliens they were, but he could see they were dying. He had to act fast. One by one, he carried them to his ship. They were light, much lighter than humans, and he was careful not to hurt them more. Back on his ship, Jake gave them oxygen masks and covered them with warm blankets. He did not have much medical equipment, but he did what he could. He cleaned their wounds and gave them water to drink. The cat-like one opened her eyes first and looked at him with fear. Jake spoke softly to her. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe now. I'm going to help you." She did not understand his words, but something in his voice seemed to calm her. The others slowly woke up too. They all looked at Jake with the same fear at first. He kept his movements slow and gentle. He shared his food with them, even though it meant he would not have much for himself. Through hand gestures and simple drawings, Jake learned that they had been prisoners on a slave ship. Bad people had captured them and were taking them somewhere to be sold. But the slave ship had been attacked, and in the fighting, these 4 had escaped in the damaged ship he found. Jake felt angry when he understood what had happened to them. He had heard stories about alien slave traders, but he had never seen their victims before. These were just young girls who had been taken from their families and treated like things to be bought and sold. Over the next few hours, Jake took care of them as best he could. He gave them clean clothes from his spare supplies. He made them hot soup and tea. He showed them how to use the bathroom and where they could sleep safely. Most importantly, he treated them with kindness and respect. The blue-skinned one seemed to have some kind of special ability. When she touched Jake's hand, he could feel what she was feeling. She was grateful and amazed. Through her touch, he understood that she had never met anyone who helped others without wanting something in return. The cat-like girl was very smart with technology. She looked at Jake's ship computers and seemed to understand how they worked. She made some adjustments that actually made his engines run better. Jake smiled and nodded his thanks. The tall, glowing one had a gentle nature. She seemed to be some kind of healer because when she touched the others' injuries, they felt better. She looked at Jake with wonder, as if she could not believe someone like him existed. The smallest one with silver skin appeared to be the youngest. She stayed close to the others and watched Jake carefully. Sometimes she would tilt her head like she was listening to something he could not hear. As his ship traveled toward the nearest safe station, Jake realized his life had just changed completely. He had 4 alien refugees on his ship, and he had no idea what would happen when they reached civilization. But looking at these 4 young beings who had been through so much, Jake knew he had made the right choice. Whatever trouble this might cause him, he could not have left them to die alone in space. The stars continued to shine outside his ship's windows as Jake Martinez, a simple cargo pilot, became something he never expected to be. He became a hero to 4 alien girls who had lost all hope until one human showed them that kindness could exist anywhere in the universe. 3 days passed as Jake's ship traveled through space toward Haven Station. During this time, something wonderful and strange began to happen. The 4 alien girls started to trust him, and Jake learned things about them that changed how he saw the universe. The blue-skinned girl's name was Zara. She came from a planet called Valeria, where her people could feel what others were feeling just by touching them. Zara's father was an important leader who made deals between different worlds. Because of her special gift, bad people wanted to use her to control other prisoners and make them give up hope. When she touched Jake's hand, she felt something she had never experienced before. His kindness was real and came from his heart, not from wanting something in return. The cat-like girl was named Lyra, and she was from a world called Felixa. Her people were very good with machines and technology. Lyra was studying to become an engineer when she was taken from her school. The slavers wanted her because she could fix and improve their ships and weapons. As she worked with Jake's ship, Computer, she was amazed that he trusted her with his most important systems. On her world, people only helped family members, and even then they expected payment. The tall girl with glowing skin was Nova from the planet Etheria. Her people were natural healers who could make others feel better just by touching them. Nova came from a family of doctors, and the criminals wanted to force her to heal their fighters so they could keep hurting people. She had never seen someone like Jake, who helped others even when he was tired and had little food to share. On her world, healers only helped those who could pay them well. The youngest girl with silver skin was Kira from the planet Nexar. Her people could read thoughts and speak to each other with their minds. Kira was still a student learning to control her abilities when she was captured. The bad people wanted to use her to spy on others and steal their secrets. She was surprised that Jake's thoughts were always kind, even when he was worried or scared. Most people she had met before had mean thoughts hidden behind nice words. As the days went by, all 4 girls learned something that shocked them. In their advanced civilizations, humans were considered stupid and violent animals. Their teachers had told them that humans were selfish creatures who only cared about fighting and taking things from others. They were taught that humans were so primitive that they barely deserved to be called intelligent life. But Jake was nothing like what they had been taught. He shared his food equally with all of them, even when it meant he would go hungry. He gave them the comfortable sleeping areas while he slept on the hard floor of the cockpit. When Lyra accidentally broke his favorite coffee cup while trying to help clean, Jake just smiled and said it was okay. When Nova's healing powers made her weak and sick, Jake stayed up all night taking care of her. The girls talked among themselves in their own languages, trying to understand what they were seeing. Through the ship's translation computer, Jake slowly learned their stories and began to understand their confusion. On my world, Zara explained through the translator, people only help others if they get something back. Even families make deals with each other. But you helped us and asked for nothing. Lyra added, my teachers said humans were too stupid to build good machines. But your ship is old and you keep it running with smart repairs and hard work. You're not stupid at all. Nova spoke quietly. My people think we are the best healers in the galaxy, but you healed our hearts with kindness. That is a power we do not have. Kira, the youngest, said, "I can read thoughts, but I never met someone whose thoughts were always gentle. Even when you are afraid of getting in trouble for helping us, you still think about making us feel safe." Jake felt embarrassed by their praise. "I just did what anyone would do," he said. "You needed help, so I helped. That's normal." But it was not normal to them. In their worlds, even advanced beings with great technology and special powers did not show such simple kindness to strangers. Their societies were built on getting advantages over others, making profitable deals and helping only those who could help them back. The girls began to see that maybe their civilizations were not as advanced as they thought. They had better machines and stronger powers than humans, but they had forgotten something important. They had forgotten how to care about others just because it was the right thing to do. Jake showed them pictures of Earth and told them stories about his family and friends. He talked about how humans helped each other during disasters, how they took care of animals, and how they tried to make life better for everyone. The girls listened with wonder, realizing that what their teachers had called primitive human behavior was actually something beautiful. As they got closer to Haven Station, the four aliens began to feel something they had never felt before. They were not just grateful to Jake for saving their lives. They were starting to care about him as a person. His simple human decency had touched something deep in their hearts. Zara felt through her empathic powers that Jake was lonely, even though he never complained. Lyra wanted to use her technical skills to help make his life easier. Nova wished she could heal the sadness she sensed in him from years of working alone in space. Kira could see in his thoughts that he was a good man who deserved to be loved. On the last night before reaching the station, all four girls made a decision that would change everything. They had learned about an old law that existed in all their civilizations, a law that had not been used for hundreds of years. According to this ancient rule, when someone saved your life without expecting anything in return, you owed them a debt that could only be repaid in one way. Jake had no idea what they were planning as he piloted his ship toward what he thought would be a simple rescue drop-off. He had no way of knowing that his act of basic human kindness was about to create the biggest diplomatic incident in galactic history. Haven Station was busy when Jake's ship arrived. The space station was huge, with ships coming and going from all over the galaxy. Jake felt nervous as he guided his ship to the docking bay. He had sent messages ahead to let the station know. He had rescued 4 alien survivors, but he was not prepared for what was waiting for him. When the airlock opened, Jake saw more people than he had ever seen in one place. There were humans in military uniforms, alien diplomats in fancy clothes, and reporters with cameras. Everyone was talking loudly and trying to push forward to see the rescued girls. A human officer with many medals on his chest stepped forward. His name was Colonel Brooks, and he did not look happy. "Pilot Martinez," he said in a stern voice, "you are in serious trouble. You violated 12 different space travel laws by rescuing non-human entities without permission." Jake felt his stomach drop. He had known this might happen, but seeing all these official people made it real. "Sir, they were dying," he said. "I could not just leave them." "That is not your decision to make," Colonel Brooks replied. "There are proper procedures for contact with alien species. You could have started a war by interfering." Before Jake could answer, 4 large ships appeared outside the station. Each ship was different and beautiful in its own way. One looked like it was made of blue crystal, another was sleek and golden. The third seemed to glow with soft light, and the fourth was silver and seemed to shimmer like liquid metal. The ships belonged to the 4 alien civilizations that Zara, Lyra, Nova, and Kira came from. When the alien representatives came aboard the station, they acted exactly like Jake had expected. They were cold and proud, looking at the humans like they were unimportant insects. The Valerian diplomat, a tall man with blue skin like Zara's, spoke first. "Where is our citizen? We demand she be returned immediately. Humans have no right to touch our people." The Felixian representative, a cat-like woman with silver fur, nodded in agreement. "We want our engineer back. What barbaric things have you humans done to her?" The Etherian and Nexari diplomats said similar things. They all acted like Jake was some kind of criminal who had hurt the girls instead of saving them. Jake felt angry but tried to stay calm. Then Zara, Lyra, Nova, and Kira walked into the room. They had cleaned up and were wearing simple clothes that Jake had given them, but they held themselves with dignity. The alien diplomats rushed toward them, speaking in their own languages, expecting the girls to complain about how the human had treated them. Instead, something amazing happened. Zara stepped forward and placed her hand on her diplomat's arm. Through her empathic power, she showed him exactly what Jake had done for them. The diplomat's eyes went wide with shock. He had felt Jake's pure kindness and selfless courage through Zara's memories. Lyra spoke to her representative in their musical language, telling her about how Jake had trusted her with his ship and shared his food. The cat-like diplomat's ears flattened against her head in surprise. Nova touched her people's representative and used her healing power to share the peace and safety she had felt with Jake. The Etherian diplomat's glowing skin flickered with amazement. Kira looked directly into her representative's mind and showed him Jake's thoughts during the rescue. The Nexari diplomat stumbled backward, overwhelmed by the genuine goodness he had seen in a human's mind for the first time. The four alien representatives whispered among themselves in shock. Everything they believed about humans was wrong. This primitive creature had shown more noble behavior than most members of their own advanced species. Then Zara stepped into the center of the room. "I invoke the ancient debt of life," she said loudly in perfect English. The room went completely quiet. Lyra joined her. "I also invoke the ancient debt of life." Nova and Kira stepped forward together. "We invoke the ancient debt of life," they said together. Jake had no idea what they were talking about, but everyone else in the room looked shocked. The alien diplomats began talking rapidly in their own languages. The human officers looked confused and worried. Colonel Brooks stepped forward. "What is this ancient debt of life?" The Valerian diplomat looked pale, even for someone with blue skin. "It is an old law from before our civilizations became advanced. When someone saves your life with no thought of reward, expecting nothing, in return you owe them a debt that can only be repaid in one way." "What way?" Jake asked, though he was starting to feel worried about the answer. Zara looked directly at Jake with her crystal blue eyes. "Marriage," she said simply. "According to the ancient laws of all our worlds, when someone saves your life, purely out of goodness you must offer to marry them or serve them forever." Jake felt like the floor had disappeared under his feet. "Marriage," he repeated weakly. Lyra stepped forward. "Jake Martinez, you saved my life when you had no reason to help me. You treated me with respect and kindness. I formally request your permission to become your wife." Nova spoke next. "You healed my heart with your gentleness. I ask to marry you according to the old laws." Kira, despite being the youngest, spoke with grown-up seriousness. "You showed me that good people exist in the universe. I want to spend my life with you." Finally, Zara touched Jake's hand, and through her empathic power he felt her true feelings. "You saved all four of us, Jake Martinez. We all invoke the ancient debt of life. We all ask to marry you." The room erupted in chaos. The human officers shouted about regulations and procedures. The alien diplomats argued about the legal implications. Reporters pushed forward with their cameras, but Jake could only stare at the four young women who had just proposed to him. He had gone from being a simple cargo pilot to the center of the biggest diplomatic crisis in galactic history. 4 different alien species wanted to marry their daughters to a human, something that had never happened before. Jake looked at Zara, Lyra, Nova, and Kira. He saw hope and fear in their eyes. They had risked everything by invoking the ancient law. If he said no, they would be dishonored in their own civilizations. If he said yes, he would change the course of history. "I need time to think," Jake said quietly. And the chaos in the room got even louder. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed travel. Within hours, every major news network was talking about the human who had saved 4 alien girls and received marriage proposals from all of them. Jake Martinez became the most famous person in known space, and he did not like it one bit. Haven Station was in chaos. More ships arrived every day, bringing politicians, reporters, and curious people from dozens of worlds. The station's security had to create special barriers to keep crowds away from Jake and the four girls. Everyone wanted to see the human who had changed galactic history. Jake was staying in a small room on the station, feeling overwhelmed by everything that was happening. He had gone from being alone in space to being surrounded by people who all wanted something from him. Government officials wanted to use him for politics, reporters wanted his story, scientists wanted to study him, but all Jake wanted was some peace and quiet to think. The four girls were staying in rooms nearby, protected by guards from their own species. Jake could see them during official meetings, but they were not allowed to spend time together alone. Every conversation was watched and recorded by diplomats and officials. The reactions from the alien worlds were mixed and complicated. On each planet, there were two groups of people with very different opinions. On Valeria, Zara's homeworld, the traditional leaders were furious. They believed that Valerians were naturally superior to humans and that Zara was dishonoring their entire species by wanting to marry someone they considered primitive. They sent angry messages saying that if Zara married Jake, she would be banished from their world forever. But there were other Valerians who supported Zara. These were younger people who had always questioned why their society looked down on other species. They said that Jake's kindness proved humans deserved respect, and they wanted their government to treat other species as equals. The same thing was happening on Felixa, Lyra's world. The old leaders called Jake a savage who was not worthy of their brilliant engineer. They threatened to take away Lyra's citizenship if she went through with the marriage. But many young Felixians admired Jake's courage and said their people should learn from his example. On Etheria and Nexar, the conflicts were just as intense. Nova's people were divided between those who thought humans were too violent to marry their gentle healers, and those who believed Jake had shown that humans could be peaceful and caring. Kira's world was split between those who feared humans would corrupt their telepathic abilities, and those who thought Jake's pure thoughts proved humans could be trusted. The human government was having its own problems. Some officials wanted to punish Jake for breaking the rules about contact with aliens. They said he had created a dangerous situation that could lead to war. Others wanted to use Jake's fame to make humans look good to the galaxy. They thought the marriages could help Earth make new friends and trade partners. Colonel Brooks visited Jake every day, trying to convince him to refuse the marriage proposals. "Think about what this means, Martinez," he said. "You will be married to 4 different species. Their biology is different from ours. Their cultures are completely alien. You will never have a normal life." But Jake was not thinking about politics or biology. He was thinking about Zara, Lyra, Nova, and Kira as individuals. During the long journey to Haven Station, he had gotten to know each of them. He cared about them, and he could see that they cared about him too. Zara's empathic abilities had shown her that Jake was lonely inside even though he never complained. She wanted to share her emotional strength with him and help him feel the love he deserved. When she touched his hand during their brief meetings, Jake felt a connection he had never experienced with anyone else. Lyra's technical skills had improved, his ship. But more than that, her playful personality had made him laugh in ways he had forgotten. She understood his love of flying and wanted to explore the galaxy with him. Her cat-like eyes sparkled with mischief and intelligence that drew him in. Nova's healing powers had helped the others recover from their injuries, but she had also healed something in Jake's heart. Her gentle wisdom made him feel peaceful, and her presence calmed his worries about the future. When she looked at him, he felt like he could be better than he thought possible. Kira was the youngest, but her telepathic abilities let her understand Jake in ways that amazed him. She could see his thoughts and knew his fears, but she never judged him. Instead, she showed him that his mind was good and pure, something he had never believed about himself. The problem was that Jake did not know if his feelings were real or if he was just grateful for their attention. He had been alone for so long that maybe he was confusing gratitude with love. And even if his feelings were real, was it fair to marry 4 women just because an ancient law said they owed him their lives? Jake also worried about the practical problems. How could he be a good husband to 4 different people? How could he divide his time and attention fairly? What if they got jealous of each other? What if they regretted their decision later? The most frightening thought was that the whole galaxy was watching him. If he made the wrong choice, it would not just affect him and the four girls. It could change how different species treated each other for generations to come. As Jake lay in his small room, staring at the ceiling, he realized that he had to make the biggest decision of his life. Whatever he chose would change everything, not just for him, but for the entire galaxy. After 2 weeks of thinking, Jake made his decision. He asked to meet with Zara, Lyra, Nova, and Kira in private, away from all the diplomats and reporters. The station commander agreed to give them 1 hour alone in a quiet room. When the four girls entered the room, Jake could see hope and fear in their eyes. They had been waiting for his answer, not knowing if he would accept or reject their proposals. The weight of their entire futures rested on what he would say next. Jake looked at each of them carefully. Zara, with her blue skin and crystal hair, sitting straight and proud but with worry in her empathic eyes. Lyra, with her golden fur and cat-like grace, her tail twitching nervously as she waited. Nova, with her tall, glowing form, radiating calm but unable to hide her concern. Kira, with her silver skin and young face, trying to look grown up but still just a girl who had been through too much. "I have been thinking about everything that has happened," Jake began slowly. "About the ancient laws, about what your people expect, about what my people want. But most of all, I have been thinking about you four as individuals." The girls leaned forward, hanging on his every word. "Zara," Jake said, turning to her first. "Through your empathic touch, you showed me that I am not as alone as I thought. You helped me understand that my feelings matter too. I care about you, not because you owe me anything, but because you are kind and strong and you make me want to be a better person." Zara's eyes filled with tears of relief and joy. "Lyra," Jake continued, "your intelligence and playful spirit showed me that life can be fun even in the middle of serious problems. You fixed my ship, but more than that, you fixed something in my heart that I did not even know was broken. I want to explore the stars with you and see what adventures we can find." Lyra's cat-like ears perked up and she smiled widely. "Nova," Jake said gently, "your healing powers helped the others, but your wisdom and peace helped me. When I am with you, I feel calm and hopeful about the future. You showed me that strength can be gentle and that kindness is the most powerful force in the universe." Nova's skin glowed brighter with happiness. "And Kira," Jake said, looking at the youngest girl, "even though you are young, your telepathic abilities showed me something amazing. You could see into my mind and know all my thoughts, including the bad ones, but you still believed I was good. You gave me confidence in myself that I never had before." Kira beamed with pride and joy. Jake took a deep breath. "I accept all four of your proposals. I want to marry all of you, not because of any ancient law, but because I love each of you in different ways. You are all special, and you all make me happy." The four girls jumped up and hugged Jake together, laughing and crying at the same time. For the first time since the rescue, they felt truly free and happy. The wedding ceremony took place 1 month later on a neutral space station called Unity Point. Representatives from all 5 worlds attended, along with thousands of reporters and curious beings from across the galaxy. The ceremony was broadcast live to billions of viewers. Jake wore a simple black suit from Earth, while each bride wore traditional wedding clothes from her home world. Zara wore a flowing blue dress that sparkled like crystals. Lyra wore a golden outfit that moved like liquid metal. Nova wore white robes that seemed to glow with inner light. Kira wore a silver dress that shimmered like starlight. The ceremony included traditions from all 5 cultures. They exchanged vows in 5 different languages, with translation devices making sure everyone understood. Jake promised to love and protect each wife equally. The 4 brides promised to share their lives and their unique gifts with him and with each other. When the ceremony was over, Jake and his 4 wives were legally married according to the laws of all their worlds. They had created the first multi-species family in galactic history. The political effects were immediate and positive. The marriage proved that different species could live together in peace and love. Old prejudices began to break down as people saw that humans were not the savage primitives they had been taught to fear. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges began, and for the first time the galaxy started to feel like one big community instead of separate, suspicious groups. Jake and his wife settled on a beautiful planet called Harmony, located between all their homeworlds. They built a house that combined architectural styles from all 5 cultures. Their home became a symbol of unity and cooperation. Life was not always easy. They had to learn each other's languages and customs. They had to figure out how to share time and attention fairly. Sometimes they disagreed about important decisions, but they worked through every problem together, with love and patience. 2 years later, their first child was born. Little Alex had Jake's human features but Zara's blue-tinted skin. Soon after came Maria, who looked human but had Lyra's golden eyes. Then came Sam, who had Nova's gentle glow, and finally, baby Lisa, who inherited Kira's silver coloring and telepathic abilities. The children grew up speaking all 5 languages and understanding all 5 cultures. They became bridges between the different worlds, helping their parent species learn to trust and respect each other. Years later, when people asked Jake why he had risked everything to save 4 strangers, his answer was always the same. They needed help and I was there. That's what good people do. Jake Martinez had started as a lonely cargo pilot flying through empty space. He became a husband, a father, and a hero who changed the galaxy forever. His simple act of kindness had grown into something beautiful that would last for generations to come.